є намальований глобус. Там є дві мови, українська і англійська. Ви можете поставити галочку біля тої мови, якою вам комфортніше слухати. Якщо ви дивитесь нас з телефона, то у вас на нижній панелі є 3 крапочки. Якщо ви на них натиснете, у вас розгорнеться меню і там можна буде вибрати мову. Також, якщо у вас будуть виникати запитання по ходу, ви собі їх нотуйте або можете писати прямо у чат, ми їх будемо збирати і в кінці постараємося поставити, або якщо будуть паузи в презентації, то будемо ставити в процесі презентації, будемо ставити ваші запитання. Маємо ще кілька хвилин, 3 хвилини, так що візьміть собі чай, каву, щоб вам було приємніше дивитися, і за 3 хвилини стартуємо наш вебінарчик. Також після вебінару вам будуть надіслані, якщо хтось був на попередній зустрічі, то бачив, що дуже нескладні тестові завдання, які ви можете відповісти, і за це отримаєте сертифікати, які вам можуть пригодитися, якщо ви відноситесь до освітньої чи медичної сфери, і вам потрібні ці бали, то вони є правомірними. Зможете з ними скористати. Я на хвильку від'єднаюся і за хвилину підключуся, і вже тоді будемо розпочинати. Так, хвилина до 18-ї. Зараз будемо розпочинати. Я ще один раз повторю технічні нюанси, і тоді будемо починати. Отже, наш вебінар відбувається оригінально англійською мовою. Про те, щоб зекономити ваш і наш час, буде синхронний переклад. Для того, щоб чути мовою, якою вам комфортніше, англійською чи українською. Якщо ви дивитесь наш вебінар з комп'ютера, то на нижній панелі між кнопкою «Запис» та кнопкою «Реакції» є намальований глобус. Якщо ви натиснете на глобус, у вас з'явиться панель «Мова», і ви можете поставити галочку біля англійської або біля української, якою вам комфортніше слухати. Якщо ви дивитеся нас з телефона, то в телефоні на нижній панелі є 3 крапочки, і ви можете вибрати та мову, якою вам комфортніше слухати, і, відповідно, будете чути синхронний переклад тою мовою, якою ви хочете. Якщо у вас в процесі нашої зустрічі виникають якісь запитання, чуйтеся вільно писати їх у чат. Щоб не перебивати спікера, будемо писати їх у чат. Я буду для себе їх нотувати, записувати, і обов'язково ми постараємося поставити максимальну кількість запитань, яку встигнемо в наш час. Працюємо 1 годину. Отже, дорогі учасники, вітаємо вас з фонду «Голоси дітей». Це український благодійний фонд, який займається психологічною гуманітарною турботою про дітей в умовах війни, а також адвокацією прав дитини. Спільно з мережею дитячих психологів Європи ми сьогодні проведемо 2-й вебінар. І дуже мені приємно запросити нашого колегу, клінічного психолога Росіо Делла Вега. Я думаю, що я правильно сказала. І сьогодні ми поговоримо про питання, які зараз дуже часто виникають і в ваших клієнтів, можливо, ваших дітей, можливо, ваші друзі скаржаться порушення сну. В контексті тому, в якому зараз перебуває Україна, нічого дивного немає, що наші дітки і дорослі мають порушення сну, і нам важливо розуміти, як правильно їм допомагати. Тому я з великою приємністю передаю мікрофон нашому сьогоднішньому спікеру, і давайте будемо працювати. Росія, you're welcome.
Hello. Shall I start the presentation? Okay. I'm going to share my slides. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. It is a pleasure to be able to be here with you and to share my knowledge about sleep in children and adolescents. And hopefully you will learn a couple of things today or get a couple of ideas for your practice later on. Today, my talk is going to be based in 4 sections. First of all, just a brief introduction of what is sleep, why is it important, what functions does it have. Then I'm going to touch base on sleep assessment, because sometimes we might have an idea that there is a sleep problem. Something is not going right, but we don't know very well how to assess that and how to find out on what is exactly that is happening here. Then I'm going to touch base on the most common sleep problems that we can find in children and adolescents. And finally, I will end with sleep interventions. So feel free to post questions in the Q&A section at any time of the talk, any question that you might have. And then I will reply to all the questions at the end, okay? Anything. No, there are no silly questions. All questions are welcome, and I will be very happy to address anything that might be not that clear from my talk. Okay. I don't know. Okay, excuse me. Okay, here we go. So sleep. We spend a third of our lives sleeping, and sometimes we kind of forget about it because it's something that if we are asleep, we are not aware of what's going on. But when sleep is affected, then is when we start worrying about it. And I see someone kind of writing on the slides, maybe accidentally. Yeah, that's okay. But just, I'm not sure if that can be prevented. Anyway, okay, I will keep going. Let me go back to see if that's deleted. Nope. Okay. Well, I hope you can see it well. Yeah, it's not me because I saw a name.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If you can restart showing presentation.
Okay.
It will,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna stop this.
Дорогі учасники, ми перестартуємо початок презентації. Будь ласка, там в кутику є олівець. Ми не маємо його можливості відключати. Прошу не користуватися ним. Дякую.
Okay, let's get back to it.
Yes.
So how do we define sleep? Well, sleep is a complex phenomenon, so it is difficult to define it and to measure it objectively. So the important thing here is sleep quality. And sleep quality has quantitative aspects. How long do we sleep for? How long does it take us to fall asleep when we want to fall asleep? How many times do we get up during the night? But it also has subjective aspects. For example, did you get a good night's sleep? Are you feeling rested in the morning? So the exact elements that make a sleep quality be good, it's something that might vary from one person to the next. So this is something we need to take into account when we are assessing sleep. Okay, good. So how does sleep work? Well, along a night, we will have what we call sleep cycles. And those cycles are going to happen more or less every hour and a half, every 90 minutes. And those cycles are composed by what we call stages or phases. So the first one is drowsiness. It's that first 5 to 10 minutes when we are falling asleep and we start to relax. Then we go to N2 is from non-REM sleep, number 2, but that's not important. It's what we call light sleep. So that's when our brain activity starts to decrease and our muscles start to relax, our breathing starts to get a little slower. Then we go to stage 3, and that's what we call deep sleep. And that's when our brain waves get slower. We have mostly delta waves, and then is when the body gets a good rest. And then we move on to the REM sleep. For the REM sleep, the brain and the heart rate activity go up again. And this is when we have dreams, but also nightmares. And this is essential for the brain to actually process the experiences and the things that have happened during the day. So these cycles are going to happen several times during the night. So if we have a healthy sleep, this is how a typical night would look like. For example, if someone got to bed at 10 and got up at 6 in the morning, that's what would happen. At the beginning of the night, we will have a bigger amount of light sleep and deep sleep, and then just a little bit of REM. And then as the night advances, cycles are getting a little longer, so more than those 90 minutes, and then we have more REM sleep. That is why it's important, and mostly in children and adolescents, that they have enough hours of sleep, because that way we can assure that they will have enough deep sleep and REM sleep. And how much is enough? So the number of hours that we need per night changes as we get, oh, I'm sorry, for some reason, some of the text in the slides is cut out, but can you see my pointer? Well, this is the one for school age. So the recommended amount of time is from 9 to 12. And then this is for teenagers. Ideally, they should get at least 9 hours of sleep. And this could be for adults. And as I said, that's if we have good sleep. But unfortunately, sleep is usually affected in a series of conditions. Developmental issues, neurological conditions, when kids had asthma, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, sickle cell, anemia, cancer, cystic fibrosis, PTSD, depression, and there are also sleep problems that happen in the absence of all of those diseases. But if the kids have these problems, we should already be paying attention on how sleep is working, because it's more likely that sleep is affected. And what happens when we do have poor sleep? Well, on the other hand, sleep affects quality of life in general. It's correlated with more behavioral problems or impulse control, also with having mood swings, impact on daily functioning, having more fatigue, having problems concentrating or focusing, mostly in class for the kids, and also having memory problems. So children and adolescents with sleep problems could have daytime problems, as I was saying, such as mood, such as inattention in class or difficulty remembering. They will have poor behavior, and usually this end up affecting not only them, but the full family is also affected. And most importantly, when we do research and we see people with sleep problems trying to follow a psychological treatment, we see, as I was saying a minute ago, that they have impaired attention, impaired memory, and lower motivation, and that's actually related to worse outcome. So it's usually a good idea when we see that our patients have sleep problems to try to address those problems towards the end of, towards the beginning of treatment, right? Because if someone is having attention problems, they may have difficulty understanding what we're asking them to do, or even remembering what we recommended to do. And also, if their motivation is low, it might be more challenging for them to just follow the treatment. So that's why one of the reasons why when sleep is comorbid with other disorders, it's usually a good idea, if possible, to address sleep first. Because when someone has a good night's sleep, is going to be in a better mood, have more memory, more impulse control, and be in a better place to follow our recommendations as psychologists. As a reminder, if you joined a little later, feel free to post questions at any time about any section of the presentation, and we will take your questions all together at the end. Okay, so let's then we have determined that sleep is important. Sleep is impacted in many other diseases and many other problems. And also sleep has an impact in many aspects on our life. So how do we know what sleep's problems might our kid or our children or adolescents may be having? So we have several tools. We can use sleep diaries. We can use sleep questionnaires. We can use objective sleep measurements that are called polysomnography and actigraphy, and I will go over what are those in a second. And we can also just use interview and ask questions about how they are sleeping. Let's start with diaries. This is just like any other diary that we might be asking them to bring to therapy, such as social interaction or homework or negative thoughts. Well, in this case, we will be asking them to record every night, what time did they go to bed, what time did they fall asleep, how many times did they get up during the night, what time did they leave bed. So this is a very good idea if we want to have a picture of what a typical night look like, but it's usually highly demanding and kids usually forget to do it, and then they have memory bias when they are trying to remember, right? Just try to remember, what did you have for breakfast 3 days ago? Oh, you're probably having problems trying to remember that, right? So when we are trying to go to therapy and then it's like, oops, I forgot to fill in my sleep diary. Okay, yeah, I think 3 nights ago I woke up 4 times. So sometimes they are not very reliable. So one alternative that has been gaining more and more power now is to do electronic diaries. Just do an online survey and then send a link to an email that the kid might have or a text to their phone, and then it's like click, 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 and then it's done. So that usually, when possible, it's a better alternative. A second option is questionnaires. We have validated psychometrically sound scales that usually are free to use or inexpensive. They are fast and they can provide important information for the information we're trying to retrieve. However, we have the same problem here. They're only gonna collect subjective aspects. The same memory or recall problems can be present because some of those questionnaires ask you about the last month. Some of them, if they're very detailed, they can be actually lengthy to reply. And most importantly, sometimes they're for adults only, or they're not available for small children, or they're not available in many languages. There are a lot of them in English, but maybe they are not validated and translated to other languages or to other cultures, and sometimes they are not culturally relevant. So we can be getting biased information. So those for the qualitative assessment tools. Now, polysomnography. What is this complicated word? Well, what you can see in this part is an hypnogram. That's basically going to be an EEG. So the person going through the sleep clinic or sleep unit is going to get some electrodes on their scalp. They're also going to get some sensors under the eyes to be able to capture the eye movement that happened during the REM phase. Also in the jaw. So this technique is going to monitor brain waves, is going to monitor breathing, and is going to monitor eye movement. And what kind of information can we get with that? Well, we can see objectively the total sleep time, how long did it take for the person to get sleep from the moment you go to bed and to when to actually fall asleep. We can also see that distribution of the sleep stages. Remember a couple of slides ago when I was showing you the deep sleep, light sleep, REM. So we can see if someone is having trouble, for example, getting into deep sleep or not getting any REM at all, or if they're having respiratory issues. Are they snoring? Are they having sleep obstructive apnea? Because some kids are going to need a device called a CPAP or a BPAP. So they're going to need some oxygen during the night to be able to properly breathe. And this is the only assessment way to determine all of this. So it's very complicated, but it gives us a lot of information. However, one of the main critiques of this technique is that it's not very comfortable to fall asleep in one of those. So here you have a couple of examples in smaller or younger kids when they're getting ready to do a polysomnography. Sometimes it needs 2 nights in a sleep unit to allow the person to be able to get used to all the wires and a different environment and all that. So it does provide a lot of information, but some of the critiques are those that is highly costly. It's difficult to use. We need a trained team to actually prepare the person to be able to collect reliable measurements. It's not ecological. It's not the same as assessing the person in their own room, and it does not access the subjective aspect. So we can see how many times did the person wake up, but maybe that person, if we ask them, oh, how did you sleep? They can tell us, oh, I slept great. I feel well rested and ready for the day. So it's, even if it's very detailed for the objective aspect, it can be missing important information still. So what is an alternative? What is cheaper causing and a reduced version of this polysomnography? Well, these little watch-like devices that you're seeing there, they look like a Fitbit or just one of those, sport monitors that we are all used to nowadays. So what they do, they have an actimetry sensor that basically that records how many times and how much we move. And they have an algorithm inside that can help us calculate also objective things. How many hours of sleep did we get? How much time did it take us to fall asleep? How many times did we wake up during the night? And for how long? So we just ask our patients to wear that in the wrist, go home, and then a week later, come back to the lab or to the clinic and give it back to us. And then we will get something like this. So again, this is not just for anyone. You will need a little bit of training to understand what is this. In this case, the blue sections, the light blue sections could be the number of hours the person has been sleeping. The dark blue is the activity. So this could be wake time when the person is going to work or to school. Here, for example, we can see that this person probably took a nap over here during the day. And then the yellow is the light. So again, it requires some training, but it really gives us some interesting information. So the advantages is less expensive. The polysomnography is more ecological and more comfortable from the patient because they can just go home and wear it. But it needs some training to read and interpret and clean those records that we are going to see. It is more expensive than questionnaires or just an interview. And it does not, again, assess subjective aspects of it. So in summary, what aspects are important from sleep? Okay, now we know some tools. We know we can complement all of that with just an interview, but what do I need to ask in order to learn if my patient or if my kid or if my student is actually getting a good night's sleep? First, an important one is the sleep history and the patterns of sleep. So for example, how is that scheduled? What time do they usually go to bed? Is that the same during the week? Does it change a lot during weekends? We also need to see the habits and the physical environment. Are they taking caffeine in the evenings? Is there a lot of media in the room? Do they have gaming systems? Do we have a TV in the room? What are the parents doing? Are they sleeping with them if they're afraid to go to bed? Are they allowing them to stay late and play games if they don't want to go to bed? How is that working? And then, very important, because this is one of the most common sleep problems, insomnia symptoms. Are they having difficulty falling or staying asleep? Do they have any problems during the day? And also, how is mood, affect, and cognitions about sleep? Because once sleep starts being a problem itself, there can be a lot of other psychological variables related to that. So people can get anxious or worries about sleep. I'm not sleeping anything. Tomorrow I have a test and I'm going to perform terribly. I'm never going to be able to go back to sleep, etc. And also, Also monitor for other symptoms, because in anxiety and depression problems, usually sleep loss or excessive sleep it's very, very common to see. It could be also important to assess nocturnal behaviors. How many times do they wake up during the night? And what do they do if they get up? Do they go to the fridge and get a snack? Do they start chatting with friends that might be also not being able to sleep? Do they start watching a show? And also ask about symptoms of sleep disordered breathing. For example, we can involve the parents here and see if they hear the kids snoring, or maybe some brother or sister that are in the same room. We also should assess, not only focus on the night, but also assess daytime behaviors. Are they fatigued? Are they drowsy? Are they sleepy during the day? Are they taking naps? Because taking naps actually can disrupt sleep architecture during night, and we will see that in a minute, but this is important too. And also medication. As I was saying, sleep is usually a secondary problem to a lot of physical disease. So we should also know what kind of medication are they having and what time, because there are medications that have produce activation of the nervous system, and also what other over-the-counter medications they're having, or if they're consuming alcohol or some other things, maybe thinking that could help them improve their sleep. This is all for the assessment part. Again, in case someone joined us right now, if you had any questions, feel free to post them on the chat and we will answer all of them at the end. So now, moving to the third section of this talk, what are the most common problems of sleep problem in youth? So usually they have to do with being able to fall asleep. And a lot of times is what they call delayed sleep onset, just starting to fall asleep later than what we would like. Difficulty maintaining sleep. So, okay, I wake up, but then I'm getting up all the time during the night. Also, having less or more sleep time than with what is appropriate for the age. And finally, having poor sleep habits or bad sleep hygiene. Those were the questions that we were seeing a minute ago. That's how we can see if these problems are happening. And often we find a combination of all of them. I want to make a note here about adolescents in particular, because adolescence is the perfect storm to start having sleep problems if the kids didn't have sleep problems before. First of all, the delayed sleep onset can happen because of two reasons. First of all, circadian rhythm. We have seen that there's what we call the phase delay at puberty. So our internal clock, the one that tells us, hey, I feel restful, now it's time to get up, or oof, I feel sleepy, I should go to bed. So that one gets a little delayed. So adolescents, let's say, they start feeling tired and wanting to go to bed later and later. And that's just a developmental thing that is normal and natural, but it might cause that they go to bed later. And also there are environmental factors such as texting their friends later on, wanting to watch a show, getting behind on homework, and having more pressure to do more things. Also, they usually have advanced wake times. So they need to get out of bed earlier, because usually high school or institute, that starts earlier than for younger kids. So then their sleep time gets reduced. They go to bed or fall asleep later, and then they have to wake up earlier in the morning. And finally, because of that, when they get to the weekend, they are so tired and so sleep deprived that they say, oh, finally, now I can get up and sleep. So they sleep in, and the schedule gets shifted to a later schedule. And as a consequence, on Sunday night, it's more difficult to get back to bed and a normal time, and then they are tired again when it's time to go to school on Monday. So now I'm going to talk about CBT for sleep problems in general, touching base on what are usually the common elements we use. Of course, as with anything, we need to tailor interventions for each case specific, but those are the common things that we usually use. So those strategies should vary depending on the emphasis or alignment with behavioral, social learning, or cognitive theories. But for children and adolescents, we usually are going to teach relaxation strategies, cognitive restructuring, behavioral activation, and sleep-specific interventions. And then for the parents, we're going to teach them operant strategies to help their kids to have appropriate sleep behaviors, also communication skills, modeling with their own behavior about appropriate sleep habits, and also problem-solving training. So when CBT is cognitive behavioral therapy, is specifically addressed to insomnia, which, as I was saying, is usually the most common problem, we call that CBTI. And the goal of this intervention is to do incremental, attainable behavioral changes to work towards healthier sleep. The idea behind this is that by improving sleep at the beginning of the night, this is at bedtime, we will improve sleep through all the night. We also going to work on decreasing maintaining factors for insomnia, and also to decrease hyperarousal. So to reduce the amount of activation that our body is having at bedtime. And also just learning about what is sleep, why it's important, and how does it work, so they can also understand why this is important. So what is the content of that? So a typical CBTI intervention, and again, this needs to be tailored to every specific participant, is 4 sessions of an hour and a half with the parents and the teen being present, in which we will teach some education about sleep, how to modify sleep habits, how to do stimulus control and sleep restriction. And I'm going to touch base on those in a minute because those are more complex to explain. Also training on relaxation or cognitive strategies. And finally, and very importantly, how to maintain those changes after the intervention is over. For the parents, we will focus on supporting independent sleep for their kids, and reducing parent behaviors that are related to sleep onset. So an example of the sleep hygiene strategies that we will ask them to do when they come to the clinic would be to make a schedule that actually allows for 9 hours of sleep, because sometimes that's the very problem. They have so many homework or activities or things going on that they are not even planning for having a space where they can actually spend 9 hours sleeping. So that could be the most basic time. If it's younger kids, of course, allow for more hours. Also to remove television, electronics, gaming systems from the room, make sure the temperature is comfortable, and if it's too cold, well, at least have blankets or something that can make it so it's not too hot or too cold, and same, isolated from strong noises when possible. Also establishing a positive bedtime routine. So just having what we call a wind down routine, brushing teeth, reading a story, or if it's an adolescent, just reading by themselves, doing something relaxing, like doing some arts and crafts, something that is going to help them reduce activation, and also a positive wake routine. So when kids are too tired, don't want to leave bed, we can do things such as playing their favorite song in the morning, or getting to choose a favorite scent for the soap for the shower, or pick a favorite breakfast. So there are things that parents can do to help them motivate to wake up. Also, a lot of the kids said, well, how am I supposed to get up? I have my alarm in my phone, and you're telling me I cannot have electronics in my phone. Well, just buy a good old alarm clock and put it in the bathroom. Finally, and very, very important, while this intervention is ongoing and until changes have been maintained, keep a consistent weekend and weekday schedule. So it's okay to go to bed or to get up 1 hour to maximum variation, but no more than that. So things that should encourage them to do more and things that we should encourage them to do less. So we should try, as I was saying, to encourage them to keep a regular sleep schedule, to exercise during the day. And this is very important because sometimes when we are under a lot of cognitive pressure or we are worried, we have anxiety, our brains are very tired at sleep time, but our bodies are not. So it's very important that they get an enough amount of exercise during the day, because that also helps us, increase our heart rate on purpose. And well, that has a lot of other positive benefits for anxiety, but also for sleep. It's very important to get enough exercise during the day, but not too close to bedtime, because that actually can increase our arousal. Also to teach them that if they cannot get to sleep during 15 minutes, get out of bed. And I will touch base on that for a second. But the idea is that they stop associating bed as a dreadful thing, that they're going to be there worrying and not being able to sleep. If you cannot sleep, go out of bed. Bed is for sleeping. And that's my next point. Do not eat in bed, spend time worrying, chat with your friends, do your homework. That's not what bed is for. And also just to establish, as I was saying, that bedtime routine, anything they like, but something that is relaxing. Now, things to do less. Of course, caffeine. Do not take caffeine during the second half of the day. And same with alcohol and nicotine. So both alcohol and sometimes benzodiazepines can actually impact that sleep structure, making it so, yes, we fall asleep faster, but then we don't get as much deep sleep as we should be getting. So it has a paradoxical effect, because a lot of people think, oh yeah, I have a couple of drinks and then I sleep better. Well, you fall asleep easier, you do not sleep better. So that's the part of education that we can also share with them. Also naps, as I was saying, usually we have a time after lunch where we feel a little sleepy. So it's very tempting if we are sleep deprived to take a nap, but that can actually make it so we don't feel sleepy again until later on in the night. As I was saying, no exercise right before bed, and obviously not a lot of drink of food before bed, because then we're gonna need to get up just to go to the bathroom. It's also recommended to not watch the clock and be like, oh my God, what time is it? I'm asleep yet. So if they have their alarm clock, one idea is to turn it around and to not look at that. And also do not use electronics or things with blue light or bright light 60 minutes before bed, because those, again, mess up with our internal clock and tell us that we should still be awake and doing things. So focusing now on that sleep restriction that I was talking about before and stimulus control, a way of doing it is to actually limit the amount of time the person spent in bed to the amount of time they sleep. What does this mean? If a kid does not fall asleep usually until 2 a.m., well, stay out of bed until 2, just for the first part of this. And this might be a little difficult for parents to understand at the beginning. So we will need to have parents on board for this one. But the idea is that, as I was saying before, they associate bed with sleeping. So only go to your bed when you're sleeping. Then we recommend them to create what we call a nesting place. And what is a nesting place? Nesting place might be a chair or a sofa, somewhere cozy with a blanket, or one of those bean bags where they can just be there relaxing, but it's not the bed. So if if we are in bed and we cannot sleep, then we should go to the nesting place. And then do boring activities like reading a phone book, counting backwards from 3 to 3, doing boring math operations or something like that, reading the dictionary, something like that. And then if they cannot, and when they feel sleepy, go back to bed. And then, very importantly, wake up at the time they should be waking up. Do not allow to move the wake up time later, because then what is happening is that this whole wake sleep phase that we were talking about will be delayed. So a more beautiful way of portraying it, or how do we put that in words for the kids? Well, just give very simple instructions like the bed. Do not use your bed for anything except for sleeping. Do not read, use electronic, eat, or worry in bed. If you are not able to fall asleep, go to your nesting place. No need to watch the clock. If you feel that it has been already 15 minutes, go there. Then it should be comfortable, relaxing, but it's not your bed. And then you can have a dim light, but away from computer, television, cell phones, or any other stimulating distractions. What can you do on your nesting place? Well, you can read a book with very short chapters, no thrilling, no murder mysteries or actions, or a scary book, or listening to very calm music if you have a radio. Things that you cannot do there: exercise or take a shower or doing things. Exercising. Also, do not try to sleep there, because sleep is for the bed. If you feel sleepy, go to the bed and then repeat. If you go to bed again and then you are not able to sleep, go back to your nesting place and do that as many times as needed. This is also called paradoxical intention, because gets to this point when the kids are in bed and they're like, oh, I'm gonna sleep, I'm gonna go to a nesting place, but it's like, oh, scroll outside, I'm comfortable here, well, maybe I'll stay, and then boom, they fall asleep. So that's the intention of all this. Is very behavioral. It's very just condition our bodies that, okay, now it's sleep time, bed is for sleeping. Now, this is mostly addressed to adolescents. So what can we do for younger kids? How do we get them ready for bed? So it's similar, but it's different. Preparing the room, same general rules for sleep hygiene. So turn off computers, TV screens, video games, or other bright lights. If they're older siblings, just ask them to not use these either. How can we reduce anxiety about bedtime and increase a sense of control on this time? Well, we can let them make choices. They can choose the pajamas they're going to be using. They can choose which book are we going to read for them. They can pick a stuffed animal of their liking, or a security blanket for the night, things like that. It will be also creating a wind-down routine. For teenagers, it's better to let them choose what is the routine they want to do, but for kids, we can just put on the pajamas, brushing teeth, reading a book, singing a lullaby, whatever they like, but be consistent and do the same thing every night, so they know that after that they're going to be sleeping and their bodies learn how to deactivate and relax. There are some additional things that can be done for winding down and reducing that arousal, right? That when we are in context of fear or tension or anxiety, sometimes that activation level of our body is too high. Well, we can practice deep breathing exercises. Also, those are activities that we can ask them to do in their nesting place. We can teach them different relaxation strategies. We can do imagery, positive imagery about being safe, being relaxed, feeling sleepy, and also do meditation. That should help us reduce our prefrontal activity that is all concerned with worries and what is next, and when am I going to be able to sleep, is something bad going to happen to mom or dad, and be more in the present moment and connected with our bodies. And there are also some other techniques for other sleep related problems. As I was mentioning before, once sleep started to be a problem, I can be worried about sleep, I can be worried about well, anything really. So I can be thinking, oh, I have homework to do, I didn't do it, I forgot to do this thing. Well, for those, we can teach them, okay, how many of those can you actually take care of from your bed? If the answer is no, I cannot take care of them, then one idea is to have a notebook by the bed and then write them down and be like, okay, first thing in the morning, you take care of them because you can note down. And the other one, I call it the notebook, but it's just journaling. So write about everything that's worrying you, everything that you're concerned about, everything you need to do. And that can be part for some kids and teens of the wind down routine. It can be also drawing, it can be more expressive. It doesn't need to be writing. And this is the one I wanted to mention before. So sleep catastrophizing, just assuming I'm not going to be able to sleep, nothing works, nobody's going to be able to help me. Well, just use cognitive restructuring about these as you would use about anything else. Finally, there are more things. Also for nightmares. If they're small kids, what can we do when they have recurrent nightmares and then naturally they're afraid to go to bed because they think they're going to have nightmares? Well, we can give them a sleep partner, a special stuffed animal. And depending on the kid, it can be, we can tell them a story where the animal's afraid to sleep, so they have to help them and put them to bed and teach them that everything is going to be okay. Or it can be the other way around. We can give them a protector, an animal that if they have, they're not going to have nightmares, etc. But we can also educate them. Sometimes small children don't understand that what nightmares are. They're real for them. So we need to explain them that it's just something that is in our head, it's just a story, it's not real, they are safe. So reassure them that even if nightmares are ugly, they are not happening and nothing bad is going to happen to them. If kids are older, we can use other techniques like rewriting the dream. So write down the dream and then changing the scary or negative parts for more positive endings. And also we can do techniques for reducing arousal, exposing to the dream. This is mostly when they have recurrent nightmares and they are scared to go to sleep because they don't want to have that nightmare again. Then you can do exposure therapy basically to the content of the nightmare when they're awake and they get desensitized. They can still having that nightmare, but then their bodies are not that activated in response to that nightmare. And then finally, there are also night terrors that they're happening in smaller kids. So nightmares are usually happening on the REM phase. They have a structure, they have a content, they remember what is happening. Night terrors usually happen in the older sleep phases, and the kids are just really scared, sometimes acting out, screaming. So for this one, it would be important to not try to shake them or to wake them up, because that can increase their arousal even more. And usually they last about 10 minutes and no more. So it's just important to keep them safe, preventing them from hurting themselves, or just, have the room in a way that they cannot, bang their head with something, and then just be patient. Of course, if those are too intense, then we will need to seek consultation with a doctor to do some other things. And what if we have circadian rhythm problems? So this is what I was talking about before. Our body has an internal clock that tells when it's wake time and when it's sleep time. And sometimes teenagers mostly have what we call delayed phase. So they are not sleepy until very late in the night, and they are very sleepy till it's like mid-morning. So something to help us adjust, because right between our eyes, there is a light sensor that helps us get adjusted to light and darkness. And that's one of the most powerful ways to adjust. So it's recommended to be exposed to bright lights, and if it's possible, to the sun in the morning for 30 to 60 minutes without sunglasses. And then from sunset to bedtime, do not use bright lights, just dim lights, and also to keep a stable schedule. So that really helps to regulate the delayed phase. Then when there are PTSD-related sleep problems, those are going to require usually specific trauma-informed interventions like rewriting the dream, or EMDR, or other interventions. Some of my colleagues are going to provide one of the other webinars that is going to be specifically addressed to trauma, so they will be able to answer more questions about these specific interventions. So that is all on my end. I would be very happy to take any questions you may have. Thanks so much for your attention.
Росія, дуже дякую тобі. Ми маємо справді величезну кількість запитань. Зараз будемо пробувати з тобою справитися і відповісти на максимальну кількість, що ми встигнемо згідно того часу, який ми зазначили. Отже, перше запитання. Які дані містяться у щоденнику сну та як його вести? Як записувати про себе свій щоденник сну?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was not in the English channel. Could you start over with the
Так.
interpretation?
Do you have
Yes,
translation?
I can hear you perfectly.
Отже, дякую дуже, Росія, за твою розповідь. Було дуже цікаво, про що свідчить величезна кількість запитань. Ми зараз спробуємо з тобою разом розібратися. І перше запитання по щоденнику сну. Які пункти мають бути в щоденнику сну і як його вести?
Which items should have the sleep diary and how to keep it, meaning how can
If it is self-estimate, how to input information if you're sleeping, so how can you put information?
how to fill them up?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so the items are going to depend on the information you would like to collect. For example, if you're trying to plan a sleep restriction intervention, you are going to need to know what time do they usually fall asleep when they go to bed. So one of the things...
Перепрошую. В нас два перекладачі одночасно. Жіночий чоловік. Так. Thank you. Okay, please.
Oh, okay. So if you need to know what time do they usually fall asleep, then that's the questions you're going to ask them. What time do you usually go to bed? What time do you usually fall asleep? Because then you're also going to see what's the sleep window. The sleep window is the time in bed where they could actually have been sleeping, right? That was one of the things I was talking about, the sleep hygiene. Because the first thing is, if we realize that they're only in bed for 7 hours, well, then we need to do something about that to start with, right? Then if we are planning for a sleep restriction, then we're going to want to know also what time do they usually fall asleep. It could be very important that they keep the diary for at least 1 week, because we are going to want to know how does their schedule look during the week and also during the weekends, because that's the other thing that might be making their sleep to be disrupted. Maybe during the week, they go to bed at 10, they get up at 7, go to school at 8, blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly during the weekends, they are playing Minecraft or they are watching Netflix or something. And then they go to bed to 4 a.m. and then they're sleeping until noon. And then, okay. So it could be really whatever questions do you want to know for them in order to plan your intervention. Now, if that's helpful, I can look for standard examples of sleep diaries, and I can share them with Natalia, and then she can, is it possible that you share with the group? So if that's helpful, I'm happy to look for a couple of examples and send them to you.
Дякую. Думаю, що це чудова ідея. Фонд «Голоси дітей» забезпечить переклад, і ми надішлемо вам разом з тестуваннями, щоб ви могли використовувати. Дякую дуже. Наступне запитання прийшло у приват, тому учасники його не бачать. Воно звучить наступним чином. Через повітряні тривоги в Україні дуже часто буває перерваний сон у дітей, бо дуже часто є нічні сирени через те, що бомбардування або загроза повітряна є вночі. Яким чином допомогти дитині заснути після сирен? Дякую.
Yeah, so that's obviously a very challenging situation. And usually something else that happens is that when there's an air alert or when there's a very strong noise because something happened, you usually don't remember hearing the noise, but you get up and you have the sense that something is going on, but you really don't know what is going on. You have, your body is telling you, hey, danger, get up and run because something bad is about to happen. So first of all, well, the ideal thing, the first thing would be to find a way of, if possible, isolate the room where the kid is going to be sleeping from any noise. That's not always going to be possible, but even I don't know, like putting towels down the doors or the windows. Sometimes just getting a white noise machine, or if not possible, some recording with just forest sounds or the rain or something that can, I mean, not obviously not a very strong noise, but let's say there are ambulances on the street or police cars or something like that, that can really help muffle all those sounds. And also, as I said, education, just explain, hey, darling, this just happened. Is this alarm? You're safe. Nothing is going to happen. It's just to let us know, blah, blah, blah. So just explaining what was that, because a lot of the times it's just disorientation, because I think something bad is going on, but I don't know exactly what is going on. But yes, in those cases, is very likely that sleep is going to be disrupted. What also we can do after that, as I was mentioning, the arousal, the activation of those kids are going to be, and ours too, if we are there, is going to be very high at that moment. So we can do activities that we know that can help them calm down. So yeah, we can try and distract them from that by reading a story or a book. We can sing a song together so they can, you know, have a more deep breathing, or we can, if we are already practicing meditation or relaxation or some other things with them, we can coach them towards those. But yes, there's not a magical solution suddenly for those things. There are things to just try and make it a little better for that.
Дякую дуже. Наступне запитання. Чи дійсно є таке, що під час сну не лише засвоюється досвід, а також сон може бути каталізатором, допомогти знайти рішення певної ситуації? Наприклад, у підлітка є складна ситуація, а після сну він краще усвідомлює, яке знайти рішення. Чи це дійсно так? Чи це хибне уявлення?
I think I'm hearing two translations at the same time, a man and a woman, and I'm getting I'm having a hard time understanding. So I'm so sorry, but could you repeat I heard something about teenagers and dreams, but that's all I understood.
Okay, yes. Давайте.
So I don't know if two people would. Okay. I could hear both again. A woman and a man, so I'm not sure who wants to translate. I'm sorry, but
Дорогі перекладачі, будь ласка, для Росії перекладає тільки Олександр, а для нас пані перекладає. Прошу. Хтось один швиденько задайте запитання. Дякую. Перепрошую дуже, там технічно не чула перекладу наша спікерка, їй зараз ставлять це саме запитання, чи дійсно під час сну можна знайти певне рішення. А поки ставлять запитання, пані Ірина Шевченко, я перепрошую, бачу вашу підняту руку, але ми використовуємо чат, і дуже багато учасників заздалегідь написали запитання, я не можу надати вам можливість задати. Перепрошую дуже. Угу. Я бачу, що вже спікерка наша розуміє.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. Yes. So if I understand correctly, the question is that some people, when they're sleeping, they magically find solutions to other problems, and where they were awake, they were not able to find. Is this a myth? Is it a reality? So it can actually happen, and it can actually be true. And why is that? Well, when we are sleeping, several things happened. And one of the things that happened is that we don't have control of our prefrontal. Our prefrontal help us planning, help us controlling impulses, but also tell us, nah, that's a dumb idea. Don't think that. No, you're too dumb to find this solution, or no, wrong, or you have a lot of prejudice, you have a lot of biases. But when we are sleeping, that's off. So sometimes in our sleep, well, sometimes in our sleep, we can be more creative because we are not cutting ourselves off, if that makes sense. But the other thing that our brain do when we sleep, on the one hand, we kind of take the trash out, the irrelevant things that we need to forget about the day, but also we process experiences. That's why sleeping is so important when we are going through difficult times, right? Sometimes we say, oh, I'll sleep on it. Or, in Spanish, we said, I will consult with my pillow, meaning that, I'll think about it. And then tomorrow, or, you will see it differently in the morning. And that's the reason why. It's because we can process information. So yes, it can happen that during our sleep, we can wake up like, oh, I got it. I have the solution, because we are more creative and, don't have our own prejudice and our own biases, but also because we might be processing information that we live during the day. So that is why sleeping is so important for memory, for attention, and for some other cognitive functioning. Our brain needs to process all that, and also for learning, for kids, for learning new techniques, new strategies, and getting new knowledge. So yes, that can happen. It's not a myth.
Дякую дуже. Наступне запитання. Які рекомендації при нічних пробудженнях, чи це завжди ознака порушення циркадних ритмів?
Okay. Nighttime awakenings are usually a symptom of insomnia. And recommendations. Well, if you remember that list of do more of and do less of, the things that you shouldn't do basically are the things that increase your arousal. So don't go exercise trying to make your body more tired, because that actually can, make you more awake. Or do not go engage in a super interesting video game, because first you're going to have that blue light, and second, you're going to get more excited and get adrenaline and so what you should do is, first of all, avoid staying in bed if you're awake for more than 15 minutes, as I was saying, so you can associate your bed only with sleeping. And then just do boring activities or activities that are going to help you wind down and relax. So you can do meditation, you can do relaxation, you can, as I was saying, read something very boring, or do like a word search, or start knitting a sweater, whatever you want to do, but out of your bed, and that is not exciting. Because the problem usually what people do is they force themselves to stay into bed, and then they start worrying about like, oh, am I falling asleep? Am I falling asleep? No, I'm not falling asleep. You see, I'm never going to be falling asleep. So that is what we want to avoid. We want to help the body to relax, and we want to associate the bed with sleep only. It might be that for the beginning of that intervention, we need to go to the nesting place and back for a long time. But after a couple of nights when we are really tired, if we need to sleep, we are going to fall asleep. Those interventions work really, really well.
Дякую дуже. Дорогі учасники і шановна Росія, наш час вийшов, але якщо не заперечуєте, можемо взяти собі додаткових 10 хвилин і ще 3 наступні запитання відповісти, бо їх є значно більше, але ми свідомі того, що на всі питання не відповімо.
Yeah, of course.
Не заперечуйте. Дякую дуже.
And also, I'm happy if you have after the session, if you want to send me a list of questions, I will be happy to provide a response and to send it if you want to share it with the group. But yeah, 3 more sounds perfect. I have time, so I'm happy to take more questions.
Це чудова можливість. Дякую дуже за твою готовність навіть в такий спосіб відповідати на запитання. Я попрошу технічну підтримку скопіювати всі питання, бо після закриття Zoom ми їх не будемо бачити. А ще поставлю 2 запитання і нарешті ми в письмовій формі разом з тестуванням розійшлемо. Які рекомендовані втручання для дітей віком до 3 років при порушеннях сну?
So from 0 to 3 years? so like babies from 0 to 3 years old, that's going to be dependent on the cause, because yeah, there's infant insomnia, but also a lot of times is it can be just colics, when the digestive system is not well formed. They're going to have a lot of indigestion, a lot of gas, and sometimes the kids are just in pain, and a lot of times that's what is disrupting sleep. Usually the interventions are very behavioral as well, and what is important, because there was this belief back in the day that you should just let the babies cry, because otherwise they're going to get used to their parents' arms and then they're never going to be able to sleep alone and all that. So that is what you should not do, because what babies need is to feel safe. They don't understand that. They don't understand that you're not getting them used to your arms. They just know that they are maybe in pain, maybe they are afraid, maybe they're uncomfortable. So you need to comfort them and to create same things that work for older kids, right? So first, trying to have a routine, what time you give them a bath, what time you feed them, blah, blah, blah. A nice and quiet environment. Also, if you are very activated because you are also sleep deprived or you're stressed or angry, just try to have the other parent, if it's more calm, to go take care of the baby, but just comfort and let them try to go back to sleep. So for that one, if you have a more specific question for specific problems, I can look up the answer and help you that, because for that one, I only know the theory. I don't work with such small babies. Usually, yeah, the interventions are very behavioral as well. But yeah, I can look up that questions and give you more details on that one.
Дякую дуже. І зараз останнє запитання, воно, я думаю, багатьох теж може цікавити і викликало дискусії в нашому чаті. Як ви вважаєте, чи потрібна гігієна травлення у другій половині дня, тобто обмеження солодких продуктів, цукерок, тістечок заради якості сну?
Of course, what you do during the day affects how you feel during the night. And as I was saying at the beginning, the idea of those interventions is to get you ready for bed in the best state possible, and that will indirectly improve your night. So everything we can do, it can help. That doesn't mean, oh, we need to cut off sweets for sure. We cannot allow any caffeine. We should, not allow any drinks or any. Sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error as well. We do know that sugar on kids produces activation, and yes, that can make them arrive to bed really, really activated. So reducing the amount of sugar is always a good idea in the hours before bed. But again, that's going to be related to our specific case. There could be kids that are more sensitive to that. There could be kids that are less sensitive to that. And same with, maybe video games or just reading mystery books. There could be kids that make them really exciting and not wanting to leave that at all. So then, okay, we need to be a little more firm with them. But for some older, they might be reading kind of dozing off. So then that's fine. So there's not a one fits all answer. In general, yes, do not drink a lot or have dinner right before bed. And also, yes, not eating a lot of sugar late in the day is also a very good idea. But again, just let's be little scientists here, right? Let's give it a try. Reduce sugar. If the kids sleep better, voila. Maybe that's something you really need to do for that kid. Now, if that doesn't make any difference, well, maybe don't torture the poor kid and allow him to eat some sweets from time to time. Right? So that could be my take on that. I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but that's how I see it.
Росіо, дякую дуже. Наш чат переповнений вдячністю, синьо-жовтими сердечками і подякую за те, що так чітко і структуровано. Дякуємо дуже за можливість письмово задати запитання. Хочу ще раз повторити, що справді з великою дуже цінуємо підтримку наших колег за кордоном, особливо в такий непростий час. І Росіо, яка належить до Європейської мережі дитячих психологів, а також благодійний фонд «Голоси дітей», запрошуємо вас також і на наступні вебінари. Разом з тестуванням ми надішлемо вам інформацію щоденник сну і надішлемо відповіді на запитання, які наша чудова спікерка погодилась відповісти, і будемо раді вас бачити. На все добре, бережіть себе, безпека в першу чергу, і турбуйтеся про себе, про свій сон. Всього доброго, дякуємо дуже за ваш час. Бережіть себе.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
See, thank you so much. It was really great and very interesting. There are a lot of more questions about medicine.
I'm happy to if you translate it for me, please. I will be very
Definitely.
happy to.
We'll do our best. Thank you so much. It was really interesting. I'm a child psychiatrist, but I was impressed and especially grateful for your CBT recommendations, because it's not so popular for now in Ukraine, but we're working on it. I'm also a CBT therapist, so I do trust in CBT. Thank you so much. Yeah,
perfect. And anything you need, you know how to find me. So thank you so much. And I will be happy to answer the other questions. And I'm excited for all the other webinars, because we're going to be covering lots of topics and learning about a lot of things.
There were more than 250 participants.
Wow.
Yes.
Awesome.
Even in such situation, the Ukrainians are ready to study and to get new information.
Perfect.
I also noticed that there are a lot of blue and yellow cartoons on your presentation. Is it especially for us? Thank you.
Of course. Of course, I try to tailor it to you guys. This was made for you.
Thank you. Олю, я думаю, що можеш закінчувати, якщо ти хост. Bye-bye. Thank you.